작년에 163%라는 어마어마한 무시무시한 수익률을 낸 펀드 매니저 닐 버거가 있는데요. 그는 올해 주식시장에 대해서는 상당히 부정적입니다. 왜 그렇게 부정적인지, 그리고 대체 작년에는 어떻게 했길래 163%를 벌었는지 그의 인터뷰 들어보겠습니다.
Everything was down, and we bet that everything was going to be down. So that's a simple answer as to how we did it. We were pretty aggressive. You know, when the opportunity set is big, we bet big. And the market cooperated with the thesis that we had. Historically, stocks and bonds have been somewhat negatively correlated, but for 10 or 12 years prior, we actually saw bonds rallying, you know, interest rates coming down and stocks rallying at the same time. And so one has to think about what was the reason for that. The reason for that, in my opinion, and I'm fairly confident about it, is one reason and one reason only, and that was the $25 trillion of liquidity that the global central banks injected into the system, an ocean of liquidity, initially in response to the global financial crisis and later on in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The initial collateral effect of that was massive asset price inflation. For example, German bonds traded at negative 70 basis points. Nobody can tell me that that's normal in a universe and explainable and rational. The proliferation of certain NFTs, you know, trading at $69 million, I'm referring to people or things like that, is a rational occurrence. But yet, this is factual. These things happen. And so we have to think about why did it happen? And so public equity valuations, private equity valuations, $19 trillion of sovereign debt trading at negative nominal interest rates, NFTs, 18,500 cryptocurrencies, the SPAC boom. These are all different stripes of the same zebra. And when you inject $25 trillion into the system, you're going to get a collateral impact of that. Unfortunately, the secondary collateral effect of that liquidity infusion was consumer price inflation around the world. It took a long time for that to develop and to become seen. But prior to recently, consumer price inflation is somewhat of a unicorn. You know, it's something that anybody under the age of 60 maybe has heard about, whereas the central banks are not trying to kill bull markets in general. They don't care if there's a bull market in Solana or there's a bull market in Dogecoin or CryptoPunks. What they care about is that if there is consumer price inflation around the world, that's something that they have to address. That's the bet that we made, that they would address it by reversing 180 degrees their posture towards liquidity, going from liquidity infusion posture to a liquidity extraction posture. And so it's very logical to believe that as they extract liquidity in an effort to rein in inflation around the world, that would provide a tailwind against asset prices of all stripes. And that's exactly what we saw.
So what gave you such confidence that this was the one, you know, this was the one time that things would really fall and central bankers would allow a huge repricing across all assets?
I am a trader. I had the luxury of being able to wait until the trend of the market started to confirm the fundamental thesis that I had, although I didn't play it aggressively until I got confirmation from the price action in the market. But when I got confirmation from price action that the trend was pointing down, everything sort of aligned, and I was able to bet very aggressively.
What was the process of you getting confirmation and your conviction going up to place this bet on very large?
So we launched the fund in April of 21 with this fundamental thesis, recognizing that the price action hadn't yet supported the fundamental thesis that we had, that I had. So I traded throughout 2021 very cautiously, not much at all, actually. As a trader, you know, the old adage of cutting your losses quickly, or like I said, price action is the ultimate Bible here. We did launch in April of 2021. I really can't publicly disclose performance information, but let's just say we didn't lose, we didn't make. So 2021 was a year that the price action really didn't confirm the fundamental thesis. As you said, the peak was right around the beginning of the year. And, you know, markets started to sell off. And it's not just looking at trends, trend lines. I mean, in a very technical way, you know, I'm just more of a, you know, qualitative type guy. How does the market respond to good news? How does the market respond to bad news? You know, the momentum of the market, versus how it was trading in years prior. You know, does it have the same energy to the upside, or does it have different energy to the downside? So it's somewhat of a qualitative assessment, having been a trader for 33 years, based upon a piece of information. If the market should be up 10, let's just say, and being hypothetical, and it's actually up 8, that's a piece of information that tells you something about the stature of the market at that time. I've seen this pattern before. It really should be up 10, but it's really not up that much. It's kind of telling me a piece of information as to who's got the control in the market, whether it's the bulls or the bears. So it's not always exactly what the information is. It's more often how the market responds to that information that's the more relevant aspect of it.
Do you think this rally is a sucker's rally?
I believe so. My thesis is gonna remain, intact until something dramatic happens. Maybe the central banks say, not only are we gonna stop letting our balance sheet roll off, but we're gonna start buying bonds again. Then obviously I would have to reevaluate the thesis. A lot of people are very focused on Fed policy and inflationary pressures and that sort of thing. I'm focused on what I think is a much more longer term issue. You always have economists going on TV, whether it's Bloomberg or CNBC, and over the last dozen years, and the reporters always asking, "Oh, we had this inflation number. What do you think?" Someone would have said, "Doesn't matter. I don't care. Central bank is adding liquidity, buy the market." And what do you think about the employment report? The employment report just came out. Doesn't matter. I don't care. The central bank is adding liquidity, buy the market. What do you think about the COVID-19 pandemic? The global economy screeched to a halt. Doesn't matter. The central banks are adding liquidity, buy the market. And that's really all you had to know. So now, as central banks are extracting liquidity to the extent that they continue to extract liquidity, it's basically the polar opposite, where none of this stuff really matters in the big picture. It doesn't really matter what happened with employment or inflation. If the central banks are extracting liquidity from the system, sell the market. That's it. But I can't just do that, without risk management because I'm a trader.
결국 그의 트레이딩을 보면 중앙은행이 돈을 더 푸냐 아니면 돈을 안 푸냐 다른 건 안 보고 딱 그거에만 집중하고 있습니다. 왜냐면 그 전략이 지난 13년간 먹혀왔던 전략이고 아직까지도 주식시장의 향방을 예측하는 치트키라고 생각하고 있기 때문인데요. 하지만 우리가 여기서 주목해야 할 점은 그가 위험관리를 아주 잘했다는 겁니다. 닐 버거가 펀드를 처음 시작한 거는 2021년 4월인데요. 2021년 주식시장 어땠나요? 상당히 좋았습니다. 근데 그는 이때도 주식시장에 대해서 되게 부정적으로 봤거든요. 그래서 하락에 베팅을 하긴 했는데 상당히 소심하게 했어요. 처음부터 내가 무조건 맞아! 이런 마음으로 한 게 아니라 시장의 눈치를 보면서 한 거죠. 가격의 움직임이 확신을 줄 때만, 다시 말해 하방으로 추세가 실릴 때만 크게 하락에 베팅을 했다는 겁니다. 그렇기 때문에 2021년 시장의 방향과 자신의 가설이 달랐음에도 불구하고 손실이 거의 없었다는 점을 우리가 기억해야 할 필요가 있을 것 같고요. 트레이딩으로 시장을 접근하시는 분들은 위험관리가 정말 중요하다는 거 다시 한번 강조드릴게요. 그런데 2023년 2월 현재 주식시장이나 채권시장을 보면 시장 참여자들이 인플레이션은 결국 가라앉을 거니까 파월이 금리 인하 해줄 겁니다 라고 생각을 하고 있는 것 같아요. 그런데 오늘의 주인공 닐 버거는 그 생각에 동의하지 않습니다. 왜냐면 닐 버거가 보기에 파월은 금리 인하를 할 생각이 없거든요. 그리고 시장의 유동성을 계속 회수하고 있잖아요. 물론 주식시장이나 채권시장은 파월이 결국 100기를 들 거다라고 보고 있는 것 같은데 닐 버거는 그런 건 모르겠고 단순하게 현재 유동성이 회수되는 상황이냐 아니면 유동성이 주입되고 있는 상황이냐 요거에만 집중을 하겠다라는 거죠. 그래서 그가 주식시장, 채권시장에 이토록 부정적인 건데요. 다만 그가 틀릴 가능성 저는 존재한다고 생각합니다. 선행지표에 따르면 사실 인플레이션이 크게 하락을 할 것 같다라는 기미가 보이는 게 사실이고요. 이런 상황에서 경제가 너무 힘들어지면 파월이 금리 인하 단행할 수 있지 않을까요? 2022년에 163%라는 어마어마한 성과 과연 운일까요? 여러분은 닐 버거가 맞을 거라고 생각하시나요? 여러분들의 생각 댓글로 남겨주시면 감사하겠고요. 다음번에도 월가의 핫한 트레이더 소개해보는 시간으로 찾아뵙도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다. 2023년 5월 김단태 그리고 동광과 버크셔 해서웨이 주주총회 겸 미국 여행에 참여할 구독자분들 모집합니다. 왕복 항공비와 숙박 저희가 지원할 거니까 많은 관심 부탁드리고요. 자세한 내용은 하단에 고정 댓글에 있는 링크 참고 부탁드리겠습니다.